To Donnie Glover and friends. We live and in person. I hope that you are doing well this evening. Just taking a pause for the cause. Do say hello, drop us some comments. I'm waiting on a couple of friends to join me. A minute or two late getting started. I do apologize. My name's Donnie Glover, publisher of BeMoreNews.com, the news before the news, where we uncover the truth. We have a new website out, blackusa.news. Very proud of it. It's our attempt at a national audience. Who's that? Stell Walker. How you doing? BlackUSA.news, our chance to finally spread our wings on the national front. Stories from across the country, and it's really a joy. I must say, I'm really enjoying myself. So as I said, I'm waiting on a couple of friends to chime in, and we're going to talk with a couple of guys from the Baltimore area. So do check out that new website, blackusa.news. Also, since this is Black History Month, let me share that I do have a book coming out on the topic of Black Wall Street. It is something that's near and dear to my soul. I've been researching for quite some time. I wanted to take a look at the story behind the story, some of the heroes that America never mentions. People like Chief John Horse down in Florida. He was a Black Seminole, and he led what was actually the largest slave insurrection in the history of the United States, led a pack of people out to Oklahoma. I look at Kansas also. So before there was Tulsa and Black Wall Street, late 1800s, 1900s. Of course, it was burned down 100 years ago this year. So this book will touch on some of the history behind it, some of the heroes, the unsung heroes that never came about. And I'm really looking forward to it. My first book is Unapologetically Black. That came out in 2015, the autobiography of Donnie Glover. We have a couple of people in here. I'm all right now. Now you tell you who got the feedback? I hear a little echo.
That might be me. Wait a minute.
Okay. So how you doing, Greg?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
Where you from, partner?
From Baltimore, Maryland, man.
Okay. Tate's laying in bed. Tate, you laying in bed on national television.
Hey, Jack. Hey, listen, my wife's doing a podcast too at this time. She out there doing that thing, and like you say, I can't be out there because of the sound. So I'm punished. I'm stuck in my room again. Life has not changed. Good evening, Mr. Branch. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, Maurice. How you feel, man?
Man, I'm great. I couldn't be better, man. Glad to be part of this thing here. Donnie, give me a call. You know what I mean? I like to jump on. I'm retired, sitting back on some chill shit, as they say. Always happy to be part of this, learn. Information is power, as he says. You know what I mean? And I can do with all the power I can get.
All day.
That's what's up, Donnie. How you today, my friend?
I'm good. So you know Greg?
By seeing, I know the name, you know what I mean? But, Greg, where you from?
Baltimore.
Where Baltimore?
East side, right over.
Okay, yeah. From over east, I'm a West Baltimore type cat. You know what I mean?
Oh,
but
yeah.
I got a pretty big field and stuff like that, man. Anyway, man, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Where did Black people live first? East side or the west side?
I would probably think over east.
East Baltimore.
I would probably think over east, because I actually, whether I'm a West Baltimore type cat, but whether we know it, own it, or what and stuff like that, East Baltimore, I don't know about my geography, which is Port Best, is a bigger part of the city. Wherever I always tell that story. I laugh and joke about it, but there's just so many people in East Baltimore, so big of families. I always talk about how we in West Baltimore, when I grew up, Donnie, we had about 3, 4 sets of twins. We had Sharon and Karen, David and Dana. We had a set of twins we
Hey,
called the twins.
we
Say it
only
again.
got 30 minutes already.
Oh, it is? Oh, I don't know. I never know. Sometimes we here for hours, so I don't know. I'm just chiming in. What's the topic today, gentlemen?
Well, I want to hear from East Baltimore. You look like you was gonna say something, Greg.
Oh no, man. It's just that it was like what he was saying to me. I always looked at it that West was so big, but it was just a lot of East, a lot of the black people. But the West Side, West Baltimore is huge.
Yeah, that's how I see it. As far as the number of people, East Baltimore always had such big families. I mean,
Agreed.
yeah, I'm not, but I'll apologize if it comes off wrong first before saying it. It could be 9, 10 people living in a 3-bedroom house, which is nothing over there in East Baltimore, because their cousins and them were their brothers to them. They grew up as a family and stuff like that. Donnie, I think you only child, Donnie.
I'm my father's only child, but I have
Okay.
3 older siblings. And my
Okay. Well,
memories for East Baltimore, although I spent, I guess, more time later in West Baltimore.
okay.
I think West Baltimore is bigger and geographically clearly has more people, but East Baltimore is very, what you allude to, is tight knit. Maurice, you never went to East Baltimore as a child?
Oh, yes and no. You know what I mean? I went there, but no, you didn't just when I came along with the East Baltimore, West Baltimore thing, I know where the first beef started. People may or may not know this, but the first steep beef started with the boy Guy Coppin, who lived across the street from Winchester Apartments, right there on what's that, Whitmore or something like that, when they killed him over there at what we y'all call it's called Geno's then, up the street from Gatsby's and
Well, that
Odell
ain't
and stuff
really
on North and
considered East
Charles.
Baltimore.
Huh?
That ain't really considered East Baltimore.
Are you kidding? That corner right there on Charles Street next to Odell's, you
That's more
find out
than,
it's East.
that's
Huh?
the center. Charles Street is the dividing line of East and West. I
Okay.
consider East Baltimore starting at Greenmount Avenue,
Right.
generally speaking, with
Right.
respect to Guilford and Barclay. But Greenmount is like you up in there.
Yeah. But if that was more or less, as I say, if you live in East Baltimore.
Right.
I'm talking about gravitating back and forth. We all at one time went to the famous ballroom, Gatsby's, Odell's. That's how we knew East Baltimore people, because we partied with them, and everybody met every night on that parking lot right there at Geno's. When it closed, that's where everybody sat back and relaxed. And the first beef that I know of, and I'm the baby, I got 5 big brothers, was the boy Guy Cotman pulled out the gun on the East Baltimore boys and stuff like. He always pulled that gun out.
Do you remember any good history back then? I don't want to talk about nobody getting dead. Shit, people getting dead every day. Can we talk about something positive?
Well,
that's why you got the person who's in
Let's
charge. There
bring
you
it
go.
up. Late night.
Hey, Gregory, didn't this conversation start with what's the topic? Didn't I start with that with Donnie? What's our topic? Then all of a sudden it ain't changing.
Let me drive this car. Party.
There we
Party.
go. Yeah, get
Party. I drive well. I can drive left handed.
Okay. There we go.
Anyway, Marty, I'm trying to teach you something.
Okay.
Well,
Greenmount, hey Gregory, to y'all, Greenmount Avenue is East Baltimore because it's the heart of East Baltimore.
It's not the heart of East Baltimore.
Only thing we know about East Baltimore being in the heart was drugs, Huffman and Holbrook, Peanut King, Valley and Eager. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
You wasn't stuck up in there in East Baltimore that deep from West Baltimore unless you had a purpose to be there. Wasn't
Cecil was the first wreck I went to, Greg. Cecil Kirk wreck.
Right.
We swam around there. We played basketball around. That's the first wreck I ever went to, East Baltimore. But before that, before we lived there in North and Boone, we lived over at Patterson Park in Lanville.
Right.
Yeah. So that was 68 or so when the riots was going. But Party, listen to me. Just roll with me for a minute, Party.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Who is the greatest baseball player in your generation to ever come out of East Baltimore?
Baseball player.
God daggone Skippy. You hear me?
Well, I mean, the greatest baseball player I know, Eddie Murray.
Stop.
Eddie Murray. He
Stop.
came from over there. He came from over there, right there at Northwood Shopping Center.
Is that
Played
true,
for
Greg?
Northwood Elementary.
Is that true, Greg?
No, I gotta go with Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson is from East Baltimore.
Reggie Jackson used to live on Milton Avenue.
I see.
His
He
mother
probably
worked
one of
at
the greatest
Social
baseball players
Security.
from anywhere.
His mother worked at Social Security.
What
I
was
never knew that. But I'm gonna throw that around though when it comes up. My
Well,
sport is
well,
baseball.
well, well. Who the second best black baseball player out of East Baltimore?
I don't know.
I,
Who you say?
if I had to make a guess,
You looking at him right there, Gregory Bryant.
Okay, Greg, who did you play with?
well, I played the overseas. I played with the Twins for a while. I made my due, but I still wouldn't put myself at number 2. There was a guy named we call him Black Henry. There was a guy called Bernard White that played with baseball down in Dunbar. There was so many guys, man. It was just so much better. It's just the idea that when we were playing, I got the shot to go a little further. But when I make that distinction from who's the best, man, I look at Bernard White that went to Dunbar was excellent. It's just so many guys, man. Because most of them, you look at some of the older players, if they taught me how to play, imagine how bad they were. Remember, we played in the hood. So we was in the hood. We got our direction instructions from those older guys. And that's the reason when people try to put me in that category, I tell people, what about the people who taught me the game? You got to look at them. So
Gregory, how old are you, sir?
I'm 61.
Okay, I'm 64. You're a little bit younger than me.
Right.
And I think back, first of all, before I drift off, it's an honor being, on the show with you. Baseball is my sport. I come up with Donnie from James Mosher Little League Association. Baseball is my sport. We had Black Duke, Duncan, Jimmy Cook, and stuff, people out of our neighborhood that were good. Kevin Davis was great. You know what I mean? And Kevin Davis always tells me and stuff like that to this day. Even he didn't make it in the major.
Yeah, I heard.
He told me, he said, man, yeah, these boys were bad. And like Donnie, the Davis, all of them were good. But Kevin, we just knew he was the greatest we ever seen. And just like Duke and Kevin say, when you get up there, you be up there for a cup of coffee. The home runs you see me hit, everybody hits them, man, when you get up there.
I'm going to give you something that everybody probably ain't going to believe.
What?
Ernie brother Kevin Graham could play.
Really?
Kevin Graham was a baseball player first before he played basketball. Kevin could play baseball.
Yeah.
And think coming around that time, all of your older players, they played baseball before they even bounced to basketball.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying to us, East Baltimore was famous for basketball. We didn't really know all the baseball players because after they got to that point, I bring back with the Guy Cotman thing. Once they told us not to come over there no more, I remember that day. You know what I mean? Don't come over East Baltimore no more. East Baltimore and West Baltimore said, but don't you come over here no more. Then that dividing line, you know what I mean?
Nobody ever. I never allowed anyone to stop me from love of East or West. I love both parts of town. There's something powerful and beautiful about both parts of town.
But you want me to tell you, if I had to pick someone in my era who I would say was an excellent baseball player from East Baltimore?
Who?
Termite.
He was nice.
Termite was good. Termite came out of high school, went to Towson. I mean, Termite was mean, but he was the guy that played down in the gutter with him. He was from down off of what? Egan Wolf.
See what I'm saying?
So see, there was a lot of guys, man, but it's just that during that time, a lot of guys ain't want to go to school.
Correct.
I mean, so when don't get me wrong, I'm flattered that people look at me that way. But then when you look at me and then
Greg, you're a superhero. Watch this party. Let me show you something else.
Do you know 1 second? Do you know after looking at Mr. Branch, after looking at Gregory, I just now realized who he is. See, Donnie didn't say that you were on the field and introduce you as who you are. I tell Donnie, he tell you to call a congressman, but all his name say is Jeffrey Powell. It only says Jeffrey Powell. If you standing in on Wall Street, I might know who you are. If you standing in the Memorial Stadium, I would know who you are. As I look at you now, Mr. Branch, I know exactly who you are. I know you from baseball, but I didn't put it together just climbing up here with the thing. When we came along, Gregory, I don't know if you know, but Donnie was the first winner of the Ike White Award out of James Mosher Little League, which is the most prestigious award that we offer. And Donnie could play. But, as we say in the neighborhood, they just only go by where they chose you. No matter how good you think you are, you go by where they chose you. Somebody might say, go first, give me Donnie. The next person say, give me Maurice. The next person go first, they would choose
Greg,
always players.
Greg, it was a bunch of bad players long before me.
Oh, yeah, we know that. But you were just one player. When you got to James Mosher, I don't care how good you were in the neighborhood, you was just one player up there. They didn't care.
Like but what you learned at James Mosher, when I went to Dunbar, Greg,
right?
I was steps ahead of the game, like a lot of the Dunbar wrestlers who went to McKim's, or a lot of the Dunbar players that played up the Dome, Lafayette. Those, that's how that James Mosher prepared me,
right?
Personally.
And but see, over in East Baltimore, when it came down to baseball, that really didn't exist.
Right.
Everything that I've learned about, I've always known about James Mosher, but I could never get over there. If you wasn't going at certain places to play, man, you could make it. It wasn't that many, with the parks it is. I mean, it was just different. But like I say, when I look at a lot of guys and they put me up there in that category, I'm flattered. But I got my own heroes too.
Well, stop that. Tell them about a party.
Yeah.
So one thing Greg does every year is he has this beautiful, beautiful basketball tournament where teams come up from Washington, D.C. I mean, D.C. legends, Baltimore City legends, over the east side, under the dome. It is the most beautiful thing. And his sister does the cooking. She's like, oh my God, she cooked like my mama, man. Let me tell you. And the food, the macaroni and cheese, I'm telling you, the cheese just be ooey gooey, just melt in your mouth.
So you have this every year, Greg?
Yeah, we have it every year. But see, it's guys like, when we was a kid, man, we could always get on our bike and go down Madison and watch a basketball game. They were our heroes. Right. But then time got on, people kind of got away from that. And a lot of the kids don't understand that everything they learned from they were taught from one of those legends. So I just wanted to bring some of that back, man, and having Doni there to be the guy, man, to bring it all to life. He's one of the guys who is partnering to help things go along. Hey, man, there's a lot of us that come together to do.
So look here, this is another cat. He say he knows something about baseball. He out in Oklahoma, though. You in Oklahoma?
Yeah, what's up, family? How you doing, Tate? What's up, Greg?
All right. Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Baseball your thing too, Derek?
I used to pitch for the Pirates back when you was on the Yankees or the Braves back in little James Mosher.
Yeah, right. Look at Donnie just throwing people on there. Like I'm saying, you don't know this unless after you think a minute. I remember you, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. White. Harry. Yeah, we had a coach now. The Pirates coach, Mr. White, played baseball with my father back in the day in the Negro League. You know, my father was from South Baltimore. I lived from South Baltimore. He went on to become the what was he, the principal or something of 91 school?
Yeah, right up there in Hilton and everything.
Exactly. And that's what he always used to say, Derek and I grew up together.
Yeah, we grew up together and everything.
Yeah. What's his name? Star. I mean, what was Rico and his brother name?
World. Yeah,
Star World. I owned my first store with them on North and Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah.
Doug always thought out the box. You know what I mean? He would have the strippers riding around. Listen, that was an advertisement thing. He taught people how to think. I don't get it. We made we saw them as strippers, but they were a photography thing. He used to do literally calendars. You know, he did calendars. Photographer. That was your field. Photographer. And us doing girls in bathing suits. That's how we looked at him, Greg. You know.
Hey,
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, we talking about where we grew up as a kid, Gregory.
That was another moment in Negro history.
He used to make his living with his camera. Everywhere we went, he had a camera.
Johnny,
you know what I mean?
This guy Dark right here.
Yeah.
He was a banger. When I was in the minors, man, I was on him.
And camera will travel.
Hey man, this surprising me. I'm loving this.
Yeah. I mean, he was literally doing cameras. We used to have, back in the day, we had waistline parties and stuff like that. Dad knew he was one of the original people to come out with a camera and take your picture, you know what I mean, and sell the pictures. Remember, we used to come out of hotels, we used to have a person standing there with a sign, and he would take your picture at the end of the day. He literally made his money with his camera. He was walking around with backdrops, taking people pictures.
Donnie don't know about that. A lot of people didn't know. Look, check this out. I have an internet radio station now called House Hits Radio, and a lot of people didn't even know I was a DJ until I came out of retirement 3 years ago. But yeah, I always thought out the box, and I kept it like under the wraps. But you know, certain clientele didn't know about all the other businesses.
Yeah, real talk. He always had a camera. What was that place over there? Up on up on the parking lot at Parkside at Park Sausages. It was a little club there we used to go to.
You talking about Giovanni's?
Giovanni's, yeah. He was up there with the camera. That's what I knew him from. He traveled all around and had a camera with him. You know what I mean? When we came along, you walked around with a camera, that was called a fight. Somebody wanted to take your camera because he knew so many people he could have a camera. I didn't want a camera.
Hey, Donnie. When I was in the minor leagues, I heard about Dirk. I didn't know him personally, but I knew that I had a homie that was up there and that was playing. And I was in A-ball at the time, and guys was telling me about Dirk and what he could do.
Well, did you know y'all got the same birthday?
March 28th.
March the 24th.
Oh, my bad.
You close down. It's okay. We're up there in age, so sometimes the mind sort of drip to the left, drip to the right. But it's just good to see everybody. I'm telling you.
That's
why it's good.
I tell people to chime in on this stuff, and people just don't know. It's just like a fun 30 minutes. Only 30 minutes a day, but usually it's an hour. And I try to tell people.
It can be an hour, but it ain't gonna be about his camera, okay? Unless he want to talk about it. I wanted to talk about something else.
Okay. Let's talk about it, Donnie.
What's going on these streets, man?
Well, I know y'all heard about the West Baltimore shooting today or yesterday.
Today.
They killed the sheriff. Did he die?
No, he don't like
critical position. I know they killed him. They killed him. And something, I mean, it's sad. I do armed security, and I had a chance to get a nice little paid position. I'm retired. I just do that, make a couple dollars. I retired from the penal system. And my wife, they gave me this, good contract to make this little money, be with these people, go and pick up, what do you call it, like money from the ATM machines and stuff.
Right.
And it's ironic. My wife said, no, she wasn't happy with me doing that. I said, baby, they just ride around and 2 days later, they killed the guy collecting money from the ATM machines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's when you go to work and don't know if you come home.
Well, I'm going to say this. You know what I mean? Like, I saw something on my feed on Facebook that our good friend Tyrone Powers was talking about it's going to get worse. And you know what? I didn't listen to the interview, but it's only going to get worse until, guess what, we change our views and our political actions and moves and stuff, because you know what?
It's not going to change. It's only going to get worse. It's designed like this. It's a trap. It's meant to be, and we keep falling for it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, like you got to realize this started way back with the projects and everything. You know, the projects,
Go back,
redlining,
go
and
back to the
everything.
Civil War, brother.
Yeah.
Baltimore had the largest population of free blacks prior to the Civil War. There's always been a strong black population here, and there's always been a question for those who didn't like it, and it became known as the Negro dilemma: what to do with all these black people. And you see what they did. Slowly but surely, the projects come down. Slowly but sure, we got shipped out to Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Harford County. Black people living in Harford County now. Imagine that. So, you know, now we got a whole bunch of black elected officials, but ain't no black people here. And they just passed $11 million for 45 new speed cameras. $11 million.
That's
I mean,
Speed
that's important right now in the pandemic. Really?
Speed cameras?
I thought they would be focused on making sure all these kids had computers and laptops and access to the internet so they don't lose an entire year because we weren't prepared. I think we failed these kids, Greg. Real talk, Greg.
When I look at everything that's actually that's happening with the Q, all this stuff that's happening in DC, all that negativity, and it's bounding over. And like you say, man, it's coming to a civil war. And all the stuff that we seeing, man, this all coming right back around again, man. I mean, I'm shocked at what I'm seeing. I'm one way I'm not really shocked. I'm at one time I was surprised, but don't nothing surprise me today, man, with everything that's going on in the world and everything, especially going on in DC. At one point they wanted to hide it, but now, man, they not hiding nothing. You know, them people. Yeah, they wide open. Them people you know, that's sitting in those House of Representatives or whatever, they telling you straight out they don't like niggas and Jews and all that shit. And
Greg, what did you think when you saw them Trumpsters climbing the Capitol building wall? And Greg, that party, what I can tell you is he a soldier, man.
I'm gonna tell you, as a military man, that's treason, son.
Thank
It
you for
is.
your service, man.
You don't do that, you know, but the thing
It is.
when you look at Black Lives Matter, there was two guys that was in wheelchairs going on the Capitol. They said that they was gonna kill them if they come up there. But yet all them white people, man, they was on that step. Man, that is treason, man. They should have been locked up, every one of them.
Everyone, they should be in jails now. You know what I mean?
Everyone.
You're right. It's treason. It's domestic terrorists. I got to say this. So a couple years back, my wife is white and my brother-in-law is white, but I put a picture up about the biggest terrorist in the world. It was a picture of two white guys.
Mm-hmm.
My brother-in-law got offended and unfriended me until later on we met. But if people don't understand, the biggest terrorist in America has been white men in the false name of Jesus, then guess what? Now you should know. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to let it open back up. We are the last of the Mohegans. I was born a Negro. A Negro remembered the Civil Rights Movement. A Negro was a little child who remembered when we couldn't go in department stores or couldn't walk in certain neighborhoods at night and stuff like that. But they discombobulated us all the way to the lowest common denominator when they created the African American, because they had the descendants of the Negro believing that they were independently free in the land of captivity. I'm just going to say this. I am more American than they will ever be, but they don't respect me as being a citizen of their corporation called the United States of America. So I just say this. You know what? They told me this some years ago. If you don't like it, fucking leave it. I told them the same thing. Get back on that boat and go to white land. Find freaking white land and go back, because this is my country. This is my heritage. This is my land they stole. So you're right, they're treason. And under my authority, being a pure American, they all need to be hung and shot.
That's true. When Donnie found out that I did 20-something years in the military, and I went over to Iraq and did my time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your service, man.
And over there, man, doing what I did was because, man, that was something that I wanted to do. That was part of who I was. And I never had a problem doing what I did while I was over there. But the thing is, man, when you sit back and you look at all the stuff that's happening, and it's happening right in before our eyes, man, I would never believe that I would see, from what I know, was that a flag from
The Confederacy.
flying
Yeah.
in the Capitol.
Yes,
I'm sitting back like saying, man, are you kidding me?
you're right.
Can you imagine how dumb some of them must feel too when they run around and believe that the president of the United States, Mr. Trump at that time, literally told them to follow me and they were going to walk down to the White House? He wasn't in there. Can you imagine them idiots when they turn around and look at this man pardon all these people, pardon somebody by the name of Kodak Black, pardon Lil Wayne, and these fools running around climbing up the side of a building with steps? Yeah, first of all, you see how you think about how dumb this is? They climbing up the side, climbing through the window. You do know the Capitol has steps. You
Hey,
can walk up the steps and do the same thing they were doing. You seen them falling off the building. All. How do you feel if you're an idiot like that when they start going through all the footage, all the cameras, and they come knock on your door, and you think that that Trump is going to pardon you, but here you are going to court. You're an FBI agent. They had police in there, all these fools, and Donald Trump says, "No, I'm gonna let you sit in jail, but you, Kodak Black, and you over there, what was the other guy? Lil Wayne. Y'all
yeah.
go in, I'm gonna pardon y'all." And this idiot sitting over there that ruined his life. You know what I mean? How can you even think that you weren't led astray, you idiot?
Well, I'm gonna say this. I'm in Oklahoma. I live out here with them,
Right.
and I didn't understand the bubble that my wife was attempting to explain to me until I came out here to the bubble. And what the bubble is, it's a place where everybody fled from reality and the here and now. They always want to keep things back the way it used to be. And I'm just gonna say this: the main reason why our past president became president was because he held on to those old values. And one of the biggest values
Exactly.
was the oil industry. Check out what Biden just did, right? Yo, we are like 30 years behind China. China is on top of things with electric cars and saving the planet and technology. Yo, America is finally stepping into the 21st century with what's getting ready to take place with this clean energy plan. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yo, a lot of that old wealth is going to crumble, just like the coal industry. And a lot of the white guys that own Exxon and all out here driving these 4 150s, they never knew how to live because they was given a handout. They don't know how to live and survive like how we do. So they fear their financial, they fear their extinction through finances right now, man.
Hey,
Yo,
let me put to the floor a question. Let's jump for a minute. And let's think about this vaccine, the COVID vaccine. You know, I listened to so many people with so many answers. You know, I had an intelligent person. I mean, an intelligent person tell me, "Hey, man, I'm not going to take the vaccine because you know they put a microchip in you, and that's how they." I mean, I hear so much some of this idiotic stuff that people call, and I mean, they're on shows like this, a podcast, you know, on television, really talking this. That you know what I mean? Just don't get it. And I retired from the mental health field. I don't know if anybody knows this, but if everybody doesn't take this thing, one form or another, you're gonna die.
right.
You know what I mean? They're confused with. I'm not going to take because of this. Well, two things for certain, one thing for sure. If you don't take it, it's a matter of time before you die. You're
Yeah,
going to affect somebody in your family. I mean, I'm not. You know, as they say, the greater good. You get
right.
what I'm saying? We're at a point now, in my opinion, where we, as Derek said, is turning the corner. As a world-renowned, when I think of you, Gregory, I think of a friend that I had was in the service, Brian Black. He come from Bentlow Street. We all we all grew up playing sports against each other. He was a heck of an athlete and a sports player, but he did 20 years in the service. And he retired too. He's my age, so 63, 64. And I sit back and think about as he tells me stuff that he sees abroad. You know what I mean? The thing that you see by traveling the world. I know I vacation, B&B, Baltimore and Bentlow Street. You ever you ever listen to the person talk about y'all travelers like us that was on a cruise, and they say, "Yeah, man, I went to Portugal, I went to Spain, and you know what I mean." I said, "Man, well, how did this happen?" If you're on a cruise and you get off the ship for 2 hours and you set foot there and go in a novelty shop and get you a T-shirt and a magnet and it says Hawaii on it, you wasn't in Hawaii. I don't say that you think for a minute. If you know I know the Brian makes me laugh. He said I seen the world, but every time I saw the world, it had a bomb with it. What you mean? I was on a boat, a ship. I was in the service. They carried bombs. When I was in the war, I flew on a plane. They carried bombs. I don't say that I went somewhere like I was hanging out and had martinis and mai tais. I went over there to fight a war.
Right.
There's a big difference being in people as we see. Vietnam War. You don't have a clue about the Vietnam War. I know what it was like when they drafted everyone. When we sat in front of television. I had 5 big brothers. You sat in front of television, your name came up, and your birthday, and that's how you went to war.
I was scared to death.
Listen, I had all of us, one of us are born in January. My brother's born the 2nd, I'm born the 3rd, one's born the 4th, one of them's born the 15th. Because your parents planned pregnancy. My mother and father both were in the service. My mother passed as the oldest. They had a thing, Gregory would know about this, and Derek, YouTube probably too. They were called wax and waves. They were the first set of women to go to war. My mother was the first set of women to go to war. She was the last living survivor of the wax and waves.
God bless.
And they had the big thing out house, and they ride around the parade. She's an elk, post 19, granddaughter, ruler of this, Eastern Star. You know, all the organizations that Greg and them, knew they did. But anyhow, their idea of being black wasn't the same as black as we see it. You get what I'm saying? When you went over there, we call them, they were prejudiced. I don't like the way he treated me. You don't have a clue what prejudice is until you really have a water fountain that you can't drink out of.
Oh, man. And I, like you say, see, with me, and what made me want to go in the military was that. I mean, as a kid, man, that I was a little kid, 4 or 5, and remember the water fountain, man, where it was black only. A bathroom that you can only go in a certain bathroom. It was black. And see,
I saw it. I never participated in it. I never lived through it. I saw it.
Maurice, hold up for a minute now. You got me by a few months now. I'm going to share this with you. I remember going downtown, wanting to go on the 5 and Dime on Lexington Street, and I couldn't go there in the afternoon. I said, why? No, down the street from Reed's. It was they had the little hot dog, they had a little outdoor counter, the counter thing with the glass, you could go inside. And I wanted a hot dog so bad they had the buttered rolls, right? And I said, Mom, what? She said, no, we'll get one later on and we'll go shopping. And then by the end of the day, I didn't notice so I got older. I would go in and she would get me a hot dog. You know why?
Why?
Because they wanted to sell the old hot dog they was going to throw away to the niggas.
That's right.
Now I remember.
I remember. Check this out, right? I remember, man, going across Baltimore Street down there, Wilkins Avenue, man. They would chase us back up there. Come on, man. I was the first. Look, my godfather was Walter P. Carter. My mother was the secretary for Corps. They had an office on North and Bentlow, right? Mm-hmm. They were picketing Gwen Oak Park. Mm-hmm. The day they finally opened Gwen Oak Park up for people of color, allowed us to come in. I ain't know why all these news cameras was coming around me and stuff. Now, I'll be 63 in March, Tate, all right? Mm-hmm. I ain't know why all these cameras was coming around me and everything, right? I won the first big prize in I guess they won't call it colored day, the colors in the park, right? So you lived it, but guess what? It was a natural given. Just like how Ronald Reagan said, you know what I mean? He remembered there was a time when slavery, he never knew that slavery existed because it was a given to him when we always waited on him. You know, a lot of, even now, man, you know, I talk to these young adults, let them know, hey, check this out. This racism has never disappeared. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yo, when we had them, we compromised ourselves. They said, well, what do you want after the 60s? And we said, we want to be just like you. So they gave a couple, they gave a couple to color education. Remember when everybody could go to college for free grant money? And they let a few people in, and then they changed our names from Negro to Black. to African American.
Yeah.
Woo! And then we started moving out in Woodlawn. Then Woodlawn became Hoodlawn, and then they moved further out to Randallstown. Then Randallstown became Vandalstown. Then Randallstown became Vandalstown. Then later on, they moved to White Marsh. And then guess what? Then from White Marsh, it turned to, they call it Black Marsh now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
But one thing I want to say this, right? My grandmother taught me something, and she was just spiritually inclined. She said, always remember the story of the three little pigs, because the pig with the house of bricks survived the big bad wolf.
Right.
And I say, who the big bad wolf, Grandma? She said, white people, because they're going to come back one day and try to take your house. Don't let them take it.
And that's what they doing.
Yep. And,
Wow.
even though I don't live in Baltimore, I make sure that my brother, who has the house that I gave on Lafayette, I lay back, I go online, make sure he's paying all the stuff, make sure that the light is still, kept up and stuff like that as far as us owning it. Because one day they're gonna eventually buy us out. We can't compete with them. But just to hold on to it as long as we can, man, and try to fulfill a legacy, man. The main thing that I ask my brothers, Gregory, you and everybody, is whatever it is you love, man, take time out and meditate and ask God and your conscience to create a legacy that will be able to fulfill or give something back in our earthly abstinence. We have to plant some type of seed, because right now, we are in desperate need of support and help, because we're going to cease to exist as a culture. Our culture is being deleted and wiped out as we speak right now.
No question.
Yeah.
I when you tell that story, Greg and Derek, I think back. Derek, I grew up with, it was a store on the corner of Bentlow and
Mosier.
We
That was
called
my buddy. The
yeah,
Jewish,
the
little
concept.
fat
But
Jonathan.
do you know who the gentleman that owned it? Do you know who he is? He's Jack from Jack's Corned Beef.
Hold up.
That's Jack's Corned Beef. When my mother, does anybody remember back in the day when they had the book? When you used to go in the store and your mother would say, go down the store, tell them get a quarter pound of bologna, quarter pound of cheese, put on the book.
Well, you know what? When I was in the third grade, that was my buddy, the fat white guy. His father, they used to live over top of the store. His name was Jonathan.
The fat little white boy.
That was my best friend. Everybody used to joke me about having that big white boy for a friend.
You know why I say that? Because that's where I remember you from. You used to be out front of the store playing with him.
Yep.
Right there in that corner. You had to go up the steps. Peter Dobson eventually moved there as an adult. But anyhow, I remember when the guy that owned that, his real name is Maurice, and my name is Maurice. He used to always namesake, and I used to talk to him. When he went and bought Jack's Corned Beef, I went down there. My mother took me down there. You know what I mean? And I was talking to him, and he came, and he said, hey, namesake, how you doing? And then I talked to him. I say, how you doing, Mr. Namesake, like that. He had a barrel of pickles.
Mm-hmm.
That's how a pickle becomes a pickle. It's just a cucumber in a big barrel.
Right.
He used to let me go back there and reach my hand and take one. And I was a kid. I thought that was so cool, you know what I mean? Because I knew this man. He used to come from behind there and talk to me. And I remember the little kid and stuff like that went to take one of the pickles out there.
Wow.
The white kid and his mother slapped his hand. Because the little black kid that took a pickle out there, he didn't know. Even I didn't know. I was taking a pickle. It was a cucumber to me floating around in a barrel. Do y'all know that that's what a pickle really is? A cucumber?
That's it.
Yeah, sitting there, I didn't know. And I took it, and when the little white boy, who I was just standing there in line talking to, how you doing? We playing, you know what I mean? Letting you run around a little bit. But when I put my hand in there and took that cucumber, after that, his mother didn't allow him to take a pickle out of that bad barrel because the little black kid had put his hand in there. And guess what? I didn't realize it, Derek and Gregory told him maybe 20 years later, after I rewind my tape exactly what happened, why she slapped his hand.
And you're right. Because you sit back and I look at them days, man, and like I'm gonna tell you with me, I remember, man, like I'm Dunbar down. And the reason why, because as a little kid, when I was around 4 or 5 years old, my brother took me to see, and I seen Earl Monroe and all them get locked up.
Pearl, baby. Yeah.
They got locked. I'm sitting there. My mother told my brother Tom, you can't go nowhere. If you want to go to that game, you had to take him. And I'm sitting up there, man. I'm saying, man, oh, Earl Monroe down here at Dunbar. From that point on, man, I wanted to go to Dunbar.
Wow.
And like you say, I give a lot to Dunbar strictly because
Yes, you do.
when I look at that school, man, I look at that school where that school took that wildness out of me and it tamed me. And that's what it was about, helping and just what you said, Derek. You gotta give back, man, because you gotta show these young boys all this stuff didn't just start with you. There were guys there long before you who did stuff. There was guys who, if I did bad, like during my era, it was Mr. Wade. When
Right.
it's
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
he put his foot in you, son.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And most of us, you all know, because I ain't preaching to the choir, 'cause we all know there was a lot of us that didn't have fathers in the
Right here.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
went to that school, man. There was someone who took care of us and showed us the way. That's where we end up becoming, productive people in the community. And
That was
man, just listen to being right here and us having a conversation, yo. I'm talking about I can sit here and listen to y'all all day long.
Yeah, real talk. People don't know that was the basis of the Little League. That was the basis of the YMCA. That was the basis of the recreation center. To find a place where everybody could go and be safe. You know what I mean? And that's
What
where
what about Officer Murdoch on Riggs Avenue, who started the first
people don't know.
officer?
Let me toot my horn. I'm enjoying this. Do you know I helped name Officer Murray? You ever heard of what's it called? Wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute. What do they call them? The good police now? Officer Friendly?
Officer Friendly, yeah.
Officer Friendly, people don't know this, was Officer Murdoch.
Yeah, that
We
was
was
Officer
over
Murdoch,
at
yeah.
James Mosier Field. We was at James Mosier Field, Little League. After the game over or before the game, if you play at 5 o'clock, you get out of school, Greg. We would run out of school, Doug. Now we would run out of school home, get your uniform, put your uniform, walk around the parking lot, walk around the little field, because you want everybody to know your team is playing.
Right.
You was in Little League. Well, my chain that came up, me, Joe Cook, and William Colston was standing there, and Calvin Freeman. This how long we were standing there putting the chain on my bike. The Afro was out then. It came out on Tuesdays and Fridays. The guy came over as I throw Doug back in there. He was a guy that walked around with a camera. So he was standing there and he asked us, what y'all doing and stuff like that. The guy he was putting my chain on. He said, and this is the officer. It was Officer Murder. He lived right there. Remember Tammy and Wayne and
Sammy.
they were his children right there in that little block. And the guy said, yeah, how y'all know the officer? I said, we know him because he's always friendly to us. He helped us. He's putting my chain on. And the Afro came out and it had a thing about the friendly officer friendly. And I remember my mother always tells that story. You named him. I said, how do I name? Said that day that they called him the friendly officer.
I want to say this right in closing with that, right? Like he was one of my, that was before they renamed us and called us African Americans, and
Right.
all of our superheroes got swept away from us. But God bless his soul, he retired, and he got gunned down in front of his house.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They tried to rob him, and I was so blessed and honored, right, to be able to plan his funeral because his family didn't have no experience in that, and he was the first officer, like firefighter or police officer, that they played the new taps for and stuff like that, but he was a role model for me. He had us going out to get back to the community. He had us out there going to Cherry Hill, handing out food, the newspapers out there, being on the van, going to Enchanted Forest, all that type of stuff. And, I just want to say this. So maybe we need to talk to Donnie to see about having a men's empowering hour where we come up with topics and stuff and talk about what we can do and see how we can raise some type of awareness, especially financial and stuff like that, to give back to communities. You know what I'm saying? It's needed. I mean, all those other organizations are top heavy. But when you got guys like you, Tate, and you, Greg, and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And myself, I mean, we know where we come from. We see where they're trying to send us to. You know what I mean? Yeah. And somebody did it for us. And Greg, thank you for what you do. Maurice, thanks for what you do, because I've seen you in action at Dunbar and Tate. I've seen what you've done with the community too. You had your moon bounce business and
Right.
giving back in charities and stuff. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, and even like right now, my radio station, I'm like, it's my legacy. Hopefully, at the COVID break, I'll be able to do festivals around the world where after the talent is paid, all the money's going like to whoever's doing the work in the community, not to no United Fund, not to this and that, to people that's doing the work in the community. So maybe, you know, Donnie, if you hear us, maybe we can talk to him later on. Maybe we can open up some type of weekly show where we talk about the past, present, and future, and invite other younger people, because the biggest issue I see that's going on now is
Yes.
that there's a disconnect between the younger adults and us.
That's right.
And we
Okay.
have to, it's great for us to talk about the past. It's great, it's great. And somebody will hear us and hopefully they'll inspire them. But we got to find a way to embed them in this conversation and listen to them and say, okay, young man, well, here you go. Here's some limited resources that we have. Yo, you go ahead and mold us and make this happen. And once you move forward and things go right, just know more blessings coming. How can we do this? You know what I mean? That's something I'm gonna just ask y'all to meditate on too. And I want to make sure that Donnie give y'all my phone number, because I travel
Okay.
a lot. And soon I think we're gonna be moving to Houston. I thought we was moving to Florida, but that's not gonna happen. But either I'll be in Houston or Dallas soon. But passport, frequent flyer miles, I could jump on a dime, so that's no problem.
Okay. Well, great.
We got to do something, fellas. You know, I mean, I'm gonna be here for a while, but I'm closer to the cemetery than the playground. You know what I mean?
I never heard it quite put that way, but I like it. It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
I
So I
like
mean,
it.
like the only thing I want to do now is plant fertile seeds. And like Greg been doing, like you've been doing. I've been doing it too, and I cry when I see some results. But instead of like giving a man a fish, we need to teach him how to fish. You know what I'm saying? All them old programs with giving backpacks. We don't need that stuff. We need to be giving away Apple iPads and stuff. You know what I mean?
You know,
We don't need pencils and notebooks and crayons. We're in the 21st century.
Right.
To the person that's out there listening and stuff, that's a really good point, Derek. You know what I mean? To the person that's listening, you don't have to be a professional baseball player like Greg. You don't have to be a world-renowned person like, that. You don't have to own Party Marty's Moon Bounce. When you listen to these shows and stuff like that, y'all, anybody that's listening, it's nothing to be on the air with us. All you need to do, my thing, is get yourself a pen and a pad, sit it right next to your iPhone, your computer, whatever it is you're doing, take a note or two. When somebody talks about a topic, write a little something down and figure out, get yourself 2 or 3 go-to words. I'm appalled. And then when you hear the conversation, get in there, enter that little word in the conversation. If you want to act like you loquacious or something like that, that. Find a little way to make yourself part of this. It ain't nothing slick that we're doing.
No.
We're just regular people holding regular conversations and stuff, so you can do it. Get yourself a little pad, write some notes down, figure yourself out 2 little episodes and stuff like that we have, or 2 times that you do it. The 3rd time you're ready for it.
That's right.
Donnie tells me the story. We were going to Eating Lounge. I always tell the story, and I'm going to be real short. Hey, we were going to Eating Lounge. Donnie took me over there, Derek and Greg. You know how to do. Oh, we're going to go over here. This is a forum. This is about small businesses. I had like 5 moon bounces then. 3 good ones and 2 piece of ones. But I was just getting started. So Donnie, the people over there, they said, well, I'm the CEO and I'm this and I'm the owner, operator, and all this. So I didn't say nothing while they were talking about their business and stuff like that. I didn't know. We went to lunch break and he said, hey, Tate's cat got your tongue? I said, what you talking about? He said, cat got your tongue. I said, no, what you telling me? He said, you didn't say much anything. I said, man, Donnie, you got me down here. I got a little couple moon bounces that I bought out the trash and I put holes in them. Put patches on them. And that you got me with the CEO, the owner, operator. And that's what he told me, y'all. The CEO is the person whose name is on the company. He invented it. You know what I mean? He ain't no better than you. The owner operator means he owns the company and he drives the truck to pick up the trash. You know what I mean? The vice president is his mother. The secretary is his sister. All these titles we got start getting caught up in. We let people intimidate us with titles. And I have the television show. And I'm not, you know what I mean? You the same, but I guess what I am. I own the largest black kids party rental company in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. You know what that means? I got more moon bouncers and water slides than anybody. Even if they got a hole in them, I still own them. They're still in my warehouse. If the cotton candy and popcorn machine is broke or the cord is cut, I can say I got 20 popcorn machines. I got 6 of them that work. The rest of them are sitting up on the shelf I use for parts. You know, so I don't let anybody intimidate me with a title. I am the CEO. That means I invented the name Party Marty. I'm the owner operator. I drive the truck. And I'm the superintendent. I sweep the floor and turn the lights out when I close the warehouse. That's all we are. Stop selling yourself short. If you want it, as I apologize if it came off wrong when I said about Derek with the photographer hookers and stuff like that.
Don't worry about it.
He used to do calendars for bathing suits. And all I know is he had these pretty girls running around, and Greg, they were naked. To me, you know, they had on a bathing suit, but to me, they were naked. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? And he ran around, be on a pickup truck, they be back there, 5 or 6 of them. I be saying, how you get all these beautiful women? Greg, because of the camera.
And
They
what you,
all wanted to be on film.
and what you said that is anything that I did, I used to do it.
As a vehicle.
Do it.
Yeah.
We talk about what are you doing? What are
Yeah.
we now? Like you were saying, I got more time in back of me than I got ahead of me.
Yeah.
I get seeds and do stuff, man. It's about giving back.
That's
And
right.
people constantly are stuck in neutral talking about what they used to do instead of what are you doing?
What are you doing now?
What are you doing now?
I
Don't
remember
stuck neutral.
the old Memorial Stadium. Do y'all remember we used to have Bat Day and stuff like that at Memorial Day and go see the Orioles? We used to get W15. My mother's a prominent person, so she knows a lot of people. We would stand outside of gate W15, and every baseball player that played came out of that gate. He drove to the game. You know what I mean? Paul Blair would stand there and play catch with you. He signed autographs all day. When you came out, you caught a person. Nobody stopped and was too much in a hurry to shake your hand. You know, even Boo Powell. I remember shaking Boo Powell's hand.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Officer Murdoch. When you ever know them guys, Gregory looked like a big guy. When you shake a person's hand and your hand would disappear, you felt like a kid in there. Your hand was so big. You know what I mean? So big. And I remember these people, but they were larger than life, but they were hands-on. We knew them. Go over there and try to wait outside somewhere and get Greg or one of them professional players to sign your autograph. Police will knock you down. They go through the underground to come out.
With me, that's where it started. And
yeah.
Glad you hit it on that because it started with Paul Blair to show me that, boy, you can play. Let me show you a couple things. And like you say, me and Paul Blair became good friends. He became my idol. All through my baseball career, I wore number 6.
Really?
Yep. And I stopped being an Oriole fan when they traded him. When they traded Paul Blair, I was done. I became a Yankees. And it was strictly because with that guy, and this guy taught me, it was just like Mari said. With Paul Blair, he took the time out for me, a little kid who had nothing, and took time and took me on the field and was showing me how to play the game. That's important. And that's not around today.
You know, to this day, with the Little League, he don't get enough. Adam Jones, man, he was at every Little League game. Man, he came to all our parades. He would be out there when the game was over. He'd be hitting balls to, but you know, you out there, he hitting pop-ups to you. Man, you know what that means to a kid?
That's right.
You know what I mean? Everybody run over there with an ink pen signing the ball and all that kind of stuff. Now we're so out of touch with everybody. Everybody is so above the law and above each other now. You can't be around a professional player now.
No,
you know, you see him on television. That's it. I'm friends with Muggsy Bogues. You know what I mean? Muggs, you know, he said this to me. I do all his parties, his kids' family parties and stuff like that. And what Muggsy would say, you may or may not know this. You know, Muggsy's been in 5 movies.
Yeah.
Been in 5 movies. He was in the NBA for over 15 seasons.
Hey,
You know
so
what I mean?
Party, they hate to interrupt you. We got joining with us JB. Sorry for the delay, JB.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Hey Jay, what's up,
Great, man.
Hey,
I'm
I think
enjoying I'm enjoying the camaraderie and the stories, and I'm sitting in the backstage going, "Wow, do I remember that?" Because I'm a Sandtown, Winchester kind of fella, all the way up to Emerson Village. You know, it's great to hear you guys give up the banter and talk about these same things that all of us had these conversations with Donnie. So again, Donnie, thank you for setting up this platform so we can listen and figure some things out. So I
Men
totally agree with
empowering
everything
men.
I've heard so far.
We need a new
Santa,
show
how old
called
are you?
Man Up. Man Up. Let's man up.
Yeah. How old are you, can we ask?
I'm
My
in
man.
my late 50s,
Okay, yeah. I
and I've
played
been doing some
softball.
things around town too to help the brothers, the young men, and all. And it's what I've been saying all along: is do something, get involved, do your part, do your part.
Yeah.
Just do anything. But it's good if
But
we
I know
all can connect.
Sandtown used to have a softball team. We called ourselves the Demons. The Edmonds calling them off Bruce Street and all. They played there. I
Bruce
came up with Tubby. You know what I mean? And all up there. And what I always remember about Sandtown, it makes me laugh. If you think back when you start talking sports with Gregory and all, people say whatever they want about them projects down there, the low rise and what they call them Murphy Homes and them. But Murphy
Right.
Homes, you played against each neighborhoods and stuff. They would walk up to your neighborhood and play baseball against you. You didn't want to go play against Murphy Homes and Murphy Homes. You know what I mean? Because fear of fighting and stuff like that. But that's what they used to do. But Sandtown was famous for that too. Sandtown, they would come up to Easterwood Park and play us and stuff like that because it was a lot of people there. Yeah, Sandtown, you get the guy, the officer just got shot and killed there, you get those stories about these neighborhoods, but if you really from them, it's nothing like that there.
no.
You remember Drew Hill, the YMCA, Mr. Cook used to run that, and I can't remember the other guy's name. They used to have the Pee Wee. We used to take us out to the park, Patapsco Park, and do arts and crafts and swim and all of that. That used to be the ghetto babysitter.
Right.
I remember when my mother would drive down, I would have to get ready, and she slowed the car down long enough for me to jump out, and I'd run off with my little pail, my lunch pail, and there would be some counselors out there would receive us kids and hand us off to the next group, and they would sashay us into the building. And it was like all these mothers with cars and fathers and women used to have their hair in rollers, but they would have the scarf over their head, and they were on their way to wherever. And we were so much more a community because everybody went to the Y.
Yeah.
And see,
everybody.
With me growing up, it was Camp Concern.
Camp Concern.
Do you remember when Reggie Mitchell, Arnold Mitchell used to have the dojo over top of the dry cleaners?
Yeah. Remember what was it? Operation Champ would pull up with the basketball goal on the back of the truck. Yeah.
Now, if you had some disenchantment with another guy, you would knuckle up and you would fight. There really wasn't any guns. If there was some guns out the street, you had Saturday night specials, few knives out there. But for the most part, if you had a disagreement, and nobody would stomp you down and kick you in the teeth and all that, the best 2 out of 3 was the prevalent of the day.
Right.
Start what they call it, start from scratch, y'all. When they break it up, you know what I mean? Y'all start from scratch and then you fought again. You know what I mean? When you get on the ground, all that rustling and stuff, all right, that's enough of that. Start from scratch, break it up. You know what I mean? And that was it. Nobody came back the next day to kill you about a basketball.
If you got knocked down, the guy say, "Have you had enough?"
Say uncle. Say Jack. You give. You know what I mean?
You give. Yeah.
Yeah.
So check this out. So we got some like minds, some great, powerful brothers here. And guess what? We got a younger man than us that's the mayor of Baltimore. Now,
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
What? Yeah, but
Well,
what can we do?
we're gonna pause that man part, but we're gonna say we got a brother down there that's
But what can we
he's
do?
under the tutelage of Sheila Dixon and the rest of them.
But here's what I'm
We'll see
saying.
what happens.
What can we do? What can we do now? We got COVID going on, but what can we do to bring back a program or something that will engage young adults, children, to reinstill core principles or a sense of dignity? What can we? I mean, like bring it back. I've been wanting to bring
Derek,
back
let me
Operation
interrupt
Champ
you for a
the longest
second.
time.
Part of the problem that we are having in our community is we've had the separation of men from family for so long that children have had children, and those children had children, and those children have had children. So, like when I'm dealing with my step grandson, he's 17 years old. He thinks he's a man.
Right.
He got his little girlfriend pregnant. He has no concept of what being a man is about. His father, who's my stepson, wasn't raised by his father.
Right.
I was married to his mother late in life, and it's just a generational thing. And he doesn't have any concept of how to deal with his son. He wasn't really raised. He was in foster care. So it's that breakdown of core values that they don't even know that they don't know. There's so much that they don't even know. I'm talking about basic shit, how to mop a floor, how to clean, how to make up a bed. They're living like wild animals. If you go to some of these mothers' houses, there's shit all over the floor, food and this and paper and trash, and they don't know how to take care of a home.
Right.
And these are young grandmothers in their late 30s. We got a lot of work to do. And then everybody's like, if you step on my toe or you bump me or I don't move, now if you say excuse me, use a bitch or you're soft. Their mindset of what's disrespect is crazy. This young man got killed the other day, the MTA driver, because there was a conversation about him wearing a mask. At the worst, it should have been is some verbiage, maybe a little fight, but there's no reason that they were supposed to whack that dude, jump in the car and drive off over a mask. This is the mentality that we're dealing with here. If you say something that they don't like, they feel like you're disrespecting them. You can't admonish them. And if you use a vocabulary, language above the 8th grade, they don't even know what you're talking about.
True that.
The educational system is so rotten, it's so poor, it's terrible, and nobody wants to learn. You can't spank the kids because now they're gonna call the police on you. We have destroyed our community. So you got to take it from that part. And they need to hear these stories. They need to know how men conduct themselves. My little grandson, I had him listening to me and another guy who's 61 years old and how we converse and articulate with each other. Not just the vocabulary, but when he's talking to me, I'm listening. And then I don't just talk over him. I say, excuse me, and let me interject. They don't even have those social skills as to how to communicate with one another, like we're doing here. If one of us wants to say something, we'll say, pardon me, or let me ring in on that, or, excuse me, or.
Interject. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't have that skill.
Or you ever
They
think
just
another
walk
thing,
right up and
maybe.
start
So
talking
what
to you.
can be done? What they don't, but what? We can busy point the finger, they ain't this and this and that.
but what is the first groundbreaking thing we can do? Just
I'm
right
glad
here.
you asked that question. When I was running for city council, I brought up all of these issues. And one of the main things I had talked about, we have to start with the school. We can't get any love out of the damn church. So we've got to make the school a community school. And the parents that don't know how or don't have an education, if you want to have food stamps, you got to enroll your kid. If you don't, you ain't getting them. And just force feed
Hold up.
how to conduct yourself. You want to get this what is it, a certificate to get free housing? Now we're going to put you in a program and teach you how to conduct yourself.
What
Yes,
you
sir.
saying, Donnie? What you saying there, Donnie?
I want to welcome Maurice Tates, Gregory Branch, J.B. Kenny, Derek Bowden. This is Morocco Coleman. And so we got
Hey,
two-
Morocco.
Hey, gentlemen.
How you doing?
So Morocco's down in Atlanta, Derek's over in Oklahoma, and then these other three up here in Morocco, they're here in Baltimore.
And
Okay.
I'm from Baltimore, but this is something I want to interject on.
No,
In my mind-
hold tight. Hold tight.
Okay.
Hold tight.
Yes, Donnie.
We have with us a legend. This man here is a legend. And now just so you know, Morocco, one of your soldiers is Gregory Branch right there.
Okay, good.
Now this man fights for veterans, Gregory.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool.
He a Vietnam.
I'm a veteran, by the way.
Mr. Morocco, where are you at, sir?
Atlanta.
Okay, cool.
Atlanta. Yeah.
Oh, that must be you up top.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, thank you for your service, first of all, from myself, and I'm sure the whole floor.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sure,
sir.
absolutely.
JB, did I hear you say you vet too?
8 years Army.
Okay.
I gave you
Good.
26.
What you say, Brand?
Thank you both, man. Thank you for your service, everybody.
13. I gave him
Thank
14. Me and 12 Air Force.
I still got my digs in the basement. As a matter of fact, I could go show you my my steel pot and my web gear. I still got it. I can walk this phone downstairs and show it to you.
Now, when you got a steel pot, man, that's heavy.
Oh yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah, I got all my gear from Iraq. I got it in a bag and put up somewhere just in case.
Now, but Maurice and Derek, I don't know if y'all were ever in the military.
I'm
but,
Googling him right now. Matter of fact, we're friends on
Mr.
Facebook.
Morocco, you don't need me to tell your story. You're more than capable. But Tate, you got to hear a little bit of this, man. I promise it won't be a waste of your time. Listen to this.
Let's go.
Well, what was that, Donnie?
He was saying the floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Well, as it was stated, I'm born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. And right before going into the military, I joined SNCC. And my contention was if I joined SNCC, if the military ever tried to get me, they wouldn't want me from being in a subversive organization.
What is SNCC? What is SNCC to us that don't know?
Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Okay, got it.
So the day I went in and signed up, it was 3 guys that were signing me up. So just as I finished the paperwork, it came on the radio that a black guy had been shot down in southeast Atlanta by a cop. So these 3 guys said, well, listen, man, you got a driver's license? I said, yeah. They say, well, the pigs got our license and we got a van outside. If they see us driving that van, they're going to lock us up. So your first official duty is to drive us there. I said, come on, let's go. So we get there and people were lining the streets and were waiting for some kind of leadership. So the mayor was on top of the police car and he was trying to get everybody to go down to the new stadium and sit on the steps and talk about it. I ran up and started rocking the bumper cursing him out, telling him we didn't want to talk, et cetera, et cetera. And all these brothers came up and helped me rock the car. The mayor fell off. The police threw him in the car. They took off, bottles started flying, all heck broke loose. So that was a riot that took place in Atlanta in 1966. The three guys that I took there was, one of them was Cleve Sellers. His son is Batari Sellers, that young brother that's on MSNBC that does some commentary. The other brother was Stokely Carmichael, and the third brother was Rap Brown.
Wow.
Rap Brown.
Yeah. So, so I thought that would keep me from going into the military. It didn't. And so I was in college up in North Carolina, in North Carolina Central, and I was a 400-meter hurdler. So I had just gotten my letter to go to Lake Tahoe for the '68 Olympic trials, and the next week I got my letter from an uncle that I didn't know I had named Sam, and he was bringing me into the Army. So that was my introduction to the military, and they sent me to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got to Vietnam, I saw a lot of the racism and stuff that was going on there, and still having my bona fides from SNCC, I started organizing a lot of the brothers, and I wrote a letter to Johnson, the publisher of Ebony magazine, and I told him about some of the racism that was going on, and asked him to do a congressional to look into it. Little did I know that letter went directly to him, and he published it in the letters to the editor section. And I had given my name,
Wow,
rank, everything but my serial number. And so when the powers that be found out about it, they started trying to set me up, and they sent a white boy as a hitman. And so I had been in the bush, man, for 6 months. So I was on point and everything. So I took him down, and we went round and round, and the commanding officers and everybody. And when they pulled me off of him, I told him I was going to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a court-martial for communicating a threat to kill. And right before the court-martial, they gave me another charge and said that the guy, everybody heard me threaten him, and it was so serious that they said that the guy had a nervous breakdown, and that they had to give him a medical discharge from the military because he was so scared. So they gave me a second charge. And by that time, I was doing the court-martials. So I defended myself, and they found me guilty, but I found a technicality in the court-martial, and they had to kick it to the curb and make it all disappear.
Wow.
Yeah.
So came back to Atlanta, went on with life, living large, the whole 9 yards. And about 10 years later, went through a divorce. And going through the divorce, I started drinking to cope with it. The next thing, I ended up homeless. So I was out there homeless for 2.5 years. So while I was in the homeless mode, man, it was like being back in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
After 2.5 years, I saw a sign said Labor Department, Veterans Employment. So I went in, and this brother that was much older than me, he kept saying, well, yes, sir, Mr. Coleman. No, sir, Mr. Coleman. He was giving my dignity back. And eventually, after going to him for about a month, he told me to apply for one of the jobs like he had. I said, man, I'm not qualified for this. He said, well, yeah, you're a disabled vet. You got to have this, et cetera, et cetera. So I applied. I got the job. And when I sat down at that desk for the first time, I knew exactly what the mission was. Like in Vietnam, the first time, the mission was staying alive and get back. Now the mission was to take care of these brothers and sisters out there that were broke down like me at one time. So basically, everybody that sat in my desk,
oh man,
basically everybody that sat down at my desk either had drugs, alcohol, homelessness, the big leg girl that left them, PTSD. So all the things that I was going through when I was saying like, why me, why me? The answer was like, why not you?
right.
So I started taking care of all these vets that were coming in, and the white folk didn't like it. So I met a guy that was speaking at one of the hotels downtown. He was a vet. So after he finished, I walked up and told him my story, and I said, man, they're trying to fire me on my job. He said, man, you need to come to Washington and testify before the House Subcommittee on Oversights and Investigations. I said, man, I don't know anybody in Washington. He said, look, I work for Congressman Charlie Rangel. He said, if you want to come, we can send you a letter and get you to come to Washington and testify. I said, well, I don't have nothing to lose. Let's do it. So they sent a letter. My superiors didn't want to let me go, but the law department told them, say, this is a letter from a congressman. This is like a subpoena. So when I got to Washington, it was like what you see on C-SPAN. So it was like the audience was packed. 1992, the audience was packed, man, from people all over the country that were veterans or people that work with veterans or organizations trying to help veterans. And I testified before Kennedy, Maxine Waters, Rangel, and about 5 others. So in my testimony, I told that my superiors were taking the money that was sent down at the beginning of the year for veterans. They were misappropriating those funds. So Maxine Waters said, just a minute, Mr. Coleman, are you telling this subcommittee that your superiors are taking the money we send down and that they are misappropriating? Is that what you're saying? And the audience said, oh man, this sister getting ready to jack this brother up. So she said, would you like to clarify that? And I said, well, yes, Madam Chairman, perhaps I misspoke. She said, I thought so. Now, what do you want to clarify it with? I said, well, I used the wrong terminology when I said that they were misappropriating the funds. They were embezzling it. When I said, all hell broke loose. Man, they were banging tables trying to get order. And so Maxine Waters, she told this guy from the, he was the Minority Affairs Director for the VA headquarters in Washington. And she looked up and asked him, had he heard anything about this? He said, well, man, we heard some rumors. She said, all right, I want you to check with your superiors and see if Coleman's telling the truth. He said, well, yes, ma'am, I'll do that and get a report back to you. She said, no, you're going to go down front to these telephones and you're going to call your superiors. We're going to have a recess and you're going to report back in 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, he reported back, they called back, everything back to order. And he told that they had heard more information and that I was telling the truth. So as a result, Congressman Rangel said, well, this just goes to show what's going on around the country and we need to do something about this. So he was putting together a Veterans Brain Trust.
Okay.
And 12 committees. And so he said, Coleman, since you work at the Labor Department, you are now the national chairman for Black Veterans Employment and Training nationwide.
Wow.
Wow.
So ever since 1992, every September, I'm in DC working with congressmen and senators, working towards getting bills, laws passed, and things that affect veterans. So the next year, after I went back up there, since I'm on that board now and I chair a committee, I started going around to different congressional offices, congressmen and senators, knocking on the door and tell them I want to speak to them for 5 minutes. And what I told them was, look, I'm not looking for the glory. I'm helping veterans around the country. There might come a time, congressman or senator, where I need your help to assist me with getting veterans their benefits or getting them other things that they've got coming to them. If I call you, yeah, if it's like somebody from Ohio, Congressman from Ohio or New York or whatever, if I ever call you telling you I need help, if you will assist me, I don't want the glory. I'll let everybody know that your office and you are helping these veterans out here. All that I ask of you is to provide me help. And so that's what I've been doing ever since 1992. So I get veterans the benefits. I get the widows
bless you.
benefits.
Wow.
In fact, I had a buddy that called me a couple of months ago to thank me for helping him. He had just gotten a check from the VA for $360,000. So that's what I've been doing. And so every day I get 2 or 3 phone calls from somewhere around the country. I've been retired since 20 years. But people have heard about me, so I get calls all the time from people around the country needing help. Sometimes, if it's not something that I can knock out the park, then I'll call that congressman or senator from wherever that is. So that's a little bit of who I am.
So look, Morocco, you on the line with some really powerful cats. Let me pass the ball. JB, Tates, Greg, Derek. Hey, Derek, stop moving around. Keep still.
Okay.
Got that attention deficit going on. Stay still. Keep your hands off the camera. Matter of fact, when your birthday, Morocco?
April 10.
Oh no. These cats, Gregory Branch, Derek Bowden, yeah, y'all in the birthday club.
Okay.
Aries, that's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, to the floor. Let me ask you, how do we feel about going back to school physically? The kids returning to school in the pandemic. Any opinions?
Well,
Is it safe yet?
I put it this way, with me, knowing that I'm very involved with Dunbar and other schools in the city, that you have all these teachers who have underlying conditions. And knowing that they have underlying conditions and that there's another phase of just this virus just coming through. If this is not dealing with it, you're still putting people in harm's way. You just can't do it. I think that someone is going to get real sick, and it's gonna get worse than it is. What we're looking at now is the new norm. I mean, and you can look at college. When college was bringing around the what we're doing now, the virtual stuff, they was getting prepared for stuff like this. So with the schools, I just say, man, until they can get a hand on this thing and actually have the numbers come down, because them numbers are still coming up. You're putting people in harm's way. So I say no.
I like to say, I have to get ready to leave in a few, but I want to say this. One of my favorite cartoons on Saturday was the Jetsons.
Yeah.
And guess what? We're living in the Jetsons time, and we got a president that's going to allow that to happen. Instead of pointing a finger, I find good in everything. And now is the time, guess what? For everybody to take ownership and responsibility for their children. Because guess what? I just talked about it. We don't need to give them ways of old back in the 70s and 80s when we was going to school for abacus and a backpack. We need to get iPads for them and tablets that's for educational purposes, that's only on an educational band. And now, with that being said, now we need to come up with curriculums in school because we can kill the overhead with the school buildings, and guess what? Invest that into the children. One of the things I want to do, I'm going to say this, and I really have to go soon, is I want to get together some elite businessmen who, back in the old physical days, we could take over the old libraries that were dilapidated and put computer learning centers in them. Right now, we don't even need that. Wow. We need to lay back and deal with the new norm, respect the science, because anybody who doesn't respect the science need to turn in their cell phone. Mm-hmm. You trust the cell phone for Facebook, Instagram, and all this stuff, but you don't trust science to educate your children? Wait a minute. Maybe you've been programmed to let other people, you think other people are supposed to raise your children in school and not teach. I think it's a good time for, guess what, parents be working at home to start instilling old school values and principles, homeschool, virtual school. and step up. Stop. China's 30 years ahead of us. Yo, now's the time. I see new light. I see all positivity. So, to me, the schools are a thing of the past as far as a lot of the
Let me
physical
interject.
buildings.
Let me interject. Let me interject. Montgomery County is doing fabulous, but they have the money. Those Jews have the money, and they are doing just that. Because I got a girl buddy that works in Montgomery County. She does everything virtually, and all those kids have whiteboards and all that stuff, and they're doing a lot of their own stuff at home. A lot of the parents are working at home, where we don't have those resources in Baltimore. The demographics is different in terms of the parenting.
We can create them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To your point, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we
As I
can,
was
we
saying,
can create them.
Gregory came up, and I apologize, and I'll yield to the floor. I see. I'm in agreement with that. I just don't see how it cannot be a spike if you put all these people back in the building. They all have to get in cars to go there. They all have to be next to each other. How you gonna keep telling 5-year-old, 8-year-old kids to keep your mask up? I mean, I just don't know how it could possibly at this time. You know what I mean? Till we get a hold on it, be controlled. Without and our answer is to put everybody back in the building.
Yeah, when
I
you
Agreed.
how that's the answer.
when you're looking at the size class in the city, the size classes are it can be anywhere between 35 and 40 kids in a class. So then you're talking about this kid is right next to someone. He has to wash them bathrooms can't be open because there ain't but 2 or 3 sinks in there. So
Yeah.
there's really no way that you can have those kids go back in there and disinfect themselves and all. It's going to be. I'm looking at it and I'm like I say, I ride or die when it comes down to Dunbar, and I'm in that school almost 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm looking at it way before the pandemic, and it's an impossible task. You can't do it because there's too many kids in those classes.
You made me think of something. Morocco.
Yeah.
Greg is an athlete too.
Okay. Play a little ball.
Donnie just says an athlete. He don't say a professional baseball player. He like to keep you up here to try to guess. You know what I mean? Greg is a professional baseball player. He's retired. He's not at this time. But
All
yeah,
right.
you know, like Donnie will do that. You know, Mr. Morocco, I like some of the names y'all were throwing out there. When you sit back and you listen at the panel and he starts talking about, yeah, me and my friend was Paul Blair. And you say Stokely Carmichael was helping me bounce the car up and down there. You know what I mean? To a person like myself, a West Baltimore type cat, you know what I mean? These names have been out there. Troy Bailey have been out there as just myths and legends. But when you hear people actually saying, yeah, we went to lunch yesterday. I was over his grandkids there. Morocco, you talk about getting, Donnie said something back in the, when it first started about how much money are they allocating there for speed light cameras, Donnie?
$11 million for 45.
$11 million to catch more people speeding.
Well, see,
that's how crazy that is.
Well, I was going somewhere. But go ahead, Mr. Morocco. I'll wait.
Hey, man, y'all call me Morocco, man. I'm one of the boys, man.
All right.
I appreciate it though.
That's right. They call him Rock. All right, Rock. My bad.
So like I look at the $11 million for some street lights. I got a problem here in Atlanta, man. They're coming into the community building these barriers out in the middle of the street. And so we got all the folk from City Hall to come. They put out $24 million to run down Martin Luther King and put all these barriers out there and cut it from 4 lanes to 1 lane on each side.
The same here, man. The same here.
But it's everywhere, especially on the East Coast. And so I kept asking the white woman that's the director for all this, what is it? Why is it? You didn't come to the community and ask before you started doing all this.
Right.
The answer that they can give me is that this is for safety. It's for safety. What they mean is with the regentrification, and as they are moving into the neighborhoods, You see the little white girl skipping down the street with the little ponytail jumping, man. They're not looking back over the shoulder, and they're not worried. That's that manifest destiny. So when blacks when they move into the community and blacks start knocking them in the head or breaking into their cribs and whatnot, and you're trying to get away, you got barriers out here in the street that are limiting your getaway while that helicopter's right on top of you. But now back to the kids in the school system. You know, I was looking at it like, why is this big push? You know, they keep talking about the economy. Well, if they get the kids back in school, they're going to put more teachers back to work. They're going to put the bus drivers back to work. They're going to put the maintenance crews to clean the buildings. They're going to put all that back to work. So since everybody loves the kids and we're all looking out for the kids, if they can get that going, now they can program us into expanding these other businesses and whatnot, opening up. And you better believe
don't forget the fuel.
Yeah. So now,
the gas. You spend a lot more gas.
Right. So now, statistically, they've already looked at this thing and said, well, you know, we're going to have so many that we can write off that are going to die from this thing. But let's look at what we got going. The main thing is to get folk back out here to get the economy going, because that's all that they look at. And they're willing to sacrifice the kids and everybody else, man. And like you were saying, a lot of these teachers, man, have health issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And those kids, man, statistically, they're saying that the kids are not really coming down with this stuff so bad, but they can be carriers.
Exactly.
So guys like me at this stage of life, you know, I've got some issues. And so they could be a carrier. My little 5-year-old granddaughter, man, could be a carrier and bring me something that I don't even know I'm getting.
Right.
So we need to shut this thing down, man, everywhere. Make the folk put on the mask, get everybody vaccinated, and try to get this thing under control.
So, Greg, did he tell you how he was a track star?
Yeah, I was listening to him. Yeah. Track and field in the 9th and 10th grade.
The hurdle.
It ain't easy.
And he told you about the Olympics?
Yes.
I was back there. I was back there with like Carlos and Tommy Smith, Black Power Fist.
Right.
Bob Beeman. Everybody was in '68 Olympics. Yeah.
But you had to go to war.
Yep.
Hey, Greg, you know about the Tet Offensive?
Huh?
Do you know about the Tet Offensive?
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I read about it.
He was in the middle of it.
What is it? I don't know. Enlighten me.
The Tet Offensive, TET. That's the Lunar New Year for Asia. So we were coming off of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And I landed in Vietnam on January 30th, 1968. More people got killed on that day than any other time because that was the Tet Offensive took place. So what happened at 2 o'clock in the morning, every major military installation in South Vietnam was hit at the same time. For 6 months, after the readiness reports afterwards show that people in the villages and the little towns outside of military compounds were digging for 6 months underground.
They had tunnels.
Tunnels. And on January 31st, 1968, at 2 o'clock in the morning, they popped up out of the holes and attacked. And we were coming off of like Thanksgiving and New Year's, Christmas.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Did you have a gun?
No, because when I got there, I'm scared to death. So I'm saying, like, where's my rifle? They said, well, you see these guys in these 30-foot towers, there is so many hundreds of yards. I said, yeah. They said, well, they're the ones that are protecting this compound. You're just here for a couple of days in a holding pattern. When you get to your base camp is when you get your weapons and your gear and everything. And so at 2 o'clock in the morning, I had been there 10 hours. An explosion 20 miles away, they blew up the ammo dump 20 miles away. The concussion picked me up out of the bed, threw me across the floor. I'm rolling across the floor. I hear all hell breaking loose outside. So I knew an arms room was next door. So I run out. Charlie's running all through the compound, throwing satchel charges, blowing up stuff. There's a guy in the door of the arms room. He's laying there. I don't know whether he's dead or alive. I just grabbed his weapon and ran to a bunker. I get in the bunker. There's 7 other guys in there. So we fought from the bunker from 2 o'clock till about 5:30 in the morning before we could finally get reinforcements. But nobody could get reinforcements because everybody else was getting hit at the same time. So anytime you hear about the Tet Offensive of 1968, that's what it was. Tet is the Lunar New Year for the Vietnamese people, Thailand, all the Asiatic area. And so we thought that they were going to have, well, the military thought that they were having a little truce and they probably were going to be at mama's house and whatnot, and everything was going to be kind of lax. And the Vietnamese Viet Cong used that reverse psychology and jacked up everybody. So that's the Tet Offensive of 1968 when you hear people talk about it.
It's amazing how when with Donnie, yourself and myself, well, Donnie, you're an avid reader. That's not my forte, my field. I like looking at pictures. And when you hear people talk about Vietnam, my 3 brothers were drafted on the same day. When we look at war as a picture or something somebody told us. And when you listen at yourselves talking about it, you hear me want to run downstairs. I still got my kettle, my pot. You know what I mean? I'm sitting in a bunker firing a rifle. You know what I mean? And Gregory said, I've flown all over the world and been on this, you know. I mean, I know it's corny and stuff like this, but from a person that's sitting over there, you know what, y'all, when y'all were doing what I was at the party. I had on a pair of silk and wool pants and an alpaca knit. You know what I mean? I was playing baseball and stuff like that. So I say this with open honesty, and I mean that. So all 3 of you brothers, man, thank you.
She was in,
Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In my case, I was preparing for the war. I mean, I missed Vietnam by a year or 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I came in, I went into special forces doing a lot of stuff in weapons and stuff like that and was preparing for it. It wasn't until I retired. And when I retired to come out, a war broke out and they called me back in.
Yeah.
They can call you back in, Donnie. You can retire. And if the United States is under siege, you're coming back in.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was out 2 years and I was working and I get a phone call saying, Sergeant Brand, do you want to go to Iraq? And I said, are you asking me or telling me? He say, we'll call you tomorrow. When they called me the next day, they say, report to Andrews Air Force Base. In 3 days, my ass was shooting lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And see, a lot of people don't realize it, but when you get out of the military, you got 6 more years.
Yes.
That's inactive where they can come get you in war or uprising or whatever. For 6 years, you still are on call.
Right. And that was after I did 22.
Yeah. And see, a lot of us don't know that.
I didn't know that.
And then I hurt over there. When I got hurt over there and came back, it took me 4 years to recuperate, to get ready. But I'm gonna tell you the funny part of it. The funny part of it, they wanted to say I had post-traumatic stress. I was telling them I didn't. Killing a person was instant for me because of living in the hood. Saying it.
Right.
When I was trying to explain that to them, they thought something was wrong with me. If someone looking for me, I'm going to find him before he find me. Mm-hmm. So once I went through all that and they found out they didn't, I always was telling people, no, ain't nothing wrong. But then once I figured out I couldn't go in tight places, if I go into I had to get what's that thing when you go in that little tunnel when I had to get an MRI. And when I went in that MRI, it completely freaked me out.
Yeah.
something was wrong because I couldn't be around a lot of people. Because once you get to that war, man, and you fighting it, I don't care what anybody say. Somewhere, somehow, it affects you.
So
And
let me ask you this
hell
on
yeah.
that note, Mr. Morocco. With this being Black History Month, can you hear me?
Yeah.
With this being Black History Month, anything on mental health? I mean, you talked about PTSD. We got mass incarceration. Black men have gone through hell in this country, and if anybody knows, the people on this call right here know the hell that we've seen: the drugs, the scourge of Ronald Reagan, Colonel Oliver North, and the highway contract crack epidemic, pandemic. Before the whole COVID pandemic, we had crack and coke and dope on our corners like was going out of style.
Right.
It was not normal. We grew up in a war situation in the sense of the drugs being everywhere. We see how drugs have destroyed inner cities up and down the East Coast, across America. So anything on mental health?
Well, like Greg was saying, you know, I get a lot of vets, man, that speak like Greg was at first. That's a good case of being in denial.
Right.
And so it really makes you schizophrenic. Schizophrenic being two different personalities, because you're walking around and you want everybody saying like, oh man, you went to that war thing, man. You in Afghanistan, or you in Iraq, you in Vietnam. They look at something. We know something's wrong with us, but we're trying to act to friends and family like we okay.
Right.
But inside, you know, you got your macho on, but deep down inside, man, I know I ain't right, man. Something's wrong with me. So you're schizophrenic, and so I'm like 80% PTSD. So I work with a lot of cases of PTSD, and
Excuse me, how were you diagnosed? Did you go through a doctor?
I was.
Yeah, I got a diagnosis. I was going to the Vietnam Vet Counseling Center. I got back in 1970, got out in late 70. I started going to the Vietnam Vet Counseling Center. The psychologist there gave me a diagnosis in 1971, I think it was. But the VA kept turning me down. So then, so over a period of years, I keep filing for it. They keep turning me down. So now I end up in 88 going to the big psychiatrist out at the VA. And I told him, I said, look, I drink a lot. Well, the majority of cases, majority of cases with PTSD.
I was on my way to the bar when you called me.
Yeah, well, you either drinking, popping, snorting, shooting something.
Mm-hmm.
In order to cope.
I'm eating pumpkin seeds right now.
Yeah, to offset it.
Yeah.
So you do that, man, to offset and able to sleep. And so
I have a therapist I talk to every Monday.
Well, I told
3 or 4 o'clock.
I told the psychiatrist, I said, I drink a lot, and I have the nightmares, the flashbacks, blah, 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 blah. So his final diagnosis was that I was severely paranoid, because I told him, I said, when I walk in a place, I'm looking for doors, windows.
Right.
I sit a certain way. When I walk down the streets, my lady walks a certain way beside me. So everything is coordinated. And so he said that was paranoia. So he said I was severely paranoid, and that I was an alcoholic. And if I stopped drinking the alcohol, my problems would go away. And so they, you know, so that put a mark on me. So in 2000, I finally I got a job working for the state of Georgia as a veterans rep. And as I said, I was fighting for veterans, and they were trying to fire me so I'd go to Washington, that whole story. But then we got a new commissioner of labor. And the commissioner was also in the reserves. He was a colonel. And he had been in Da Nang in Vietnam the year after me. So he sent for me because he had heard about me. And I said, oh, the big man's going to fire me. And he offered me a position on the staff. He had 7 people, and I was the only black. There are 131 unemployment offices in the state of Georgia, and each one of them has a vet section, just like in your states. And so he put me in charge of 131 offices and had me taking care of veterans statewide. But now that I'm in the system, I know how it works. So I applied again for PTSD. They gave me 30%. But once they gave me the 30%, VA wouldn't pay me the money. And they said the reason was because they don't know why the doctor gave me the diagnosis. I said, well, he's your doctor. So I had to file papers on him. So it took 5 years. So after 5 years, they gave me the 30% disability and they gave me back pay. Well, a year or two later, since I got the door open now, I go back to file for an increase. When I go back to file for the increase, I ended up having to go through what they call trauma recovery group. It was 9 of us. They bonded us like a unit back in Vietnam, and we had to go every Tuesday and Thursdays from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. We had a psychologist, a female psychologist, a female therapist. And they bonded us like a unit back in Nam. And then halfway through the program, you have to tell something that you've never told anybody before. A couple of guys got home that night after doing that. The wives had to have them committed to the hospital to calm them down, put them on medications and stuff for 2 or 3 days to get them balanced out. So once I finished that, I had a young psychiatrist, a sister out of Detroit, to make sure that they didn't push us too hard. So when she got through writing on my paperwork, it was 80% for my PTSD. So that with some other things allowed me to get my 100%. So with that PTSD thing, man, it's a wicked kind of thing, because my contention is this. The books and all the studies and the doctors and everything, they're dealing with you from PTSD standpoint from the white perspective. But black perspective, all of us, man, grew up in the church or Sunday school or something like that. Grandmama, auntie, and them always told me, baby, thou should not kill, thou should not kill. But now here it is. They bring me into the military, put a rifle in my hand, tell me to go out there in that jungle and kill that little brown man I don't know nothing about. Well, that little brown man is coming at me, so I got to do what I got to do to survive. And so now, many of us brothers, man, come back from war, and our PTSD is based on we've gone against everything that we've been taught all our lives, man, from that spiritual standpoint, man, thou shalt not kill. And it took me a long time to reach a point where I could ask for forgiveness. Man, I got blood on my hands. I could ask for forgiveness and believe that it's a done deal and that the Creator heard me and I've been forgiven. Now, on the other hand, you got Native Americans. That Native Americans PTSD is a whole different kind of thing. That Native American goes there, he comes from a culture where scalping, take your eyes out, things that we look at as atrocities, but there's a method to the madness, because once I kill you, I have to take your eyes so that in the afterlife, when I get there one day, you won't see me and attack me. So a lot of cultural stuff for Native Americans. Native Americans come back from the war, especially Vietnam. They came back from Vietnam and their PTSD was, I have failed the ancestors. Remember now, we lost the war in Vietnam. They told us to run, man, so we were yellow. We got out of Vietnam. What they call it is withdrawing with honor. But we lost the war there in Vietnam. So that Native American had to come home and go back to that reservation, and culturally, he has left something
undone
with the ancestors where he was not successful. He let the ancestors down. And so psychologically, they carry that kind of thing.
Right.
So when you go and file at the VA, man, you got to know how to count the numbers, and you got to know how to speak the language. Because 1 and 1 ain't 2 no more, and 2 and 2 and 4 ain't it. So that's where I come in. I'm the spook that sat by the door, and I got their books, and I got the knowledge.
How can people get in touch with you, Mr. Morocco?
I can be reached at morocco@delsouth.net. That's like the country in Africa, MOROCCO at bellsouth.net, or you can call me at 404.
Hold on. 404
372 2326. 404 372 2326. So that VA system, when you up until 50%, you get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%, and you add on another 10 or another 20, you can add 1 and 1 is 2, and the numbers work out. But when you get up to 50%, and now you start trying to add on, it goes into what they call a combined rating table. It's a different formula now. So you have to know what that formula is and how to apply it. A lot of guys, and this might apply to some of you all, or maybe somebody listening. A lot of guys say, well, Mr. Coleman, I applied and they turned me down. They gave me 0% on everything I applied for. Well, what they don't understand is if they tell you, we're not giving you anything, go away, you get nothing. But if they give you 0%, 0% means that they're realizing that you do have a VA disability, but it's just not bad enough to come up to the 10% or higher where they got to pay you. But that 0% means you are now a disabled veteran. And let's say it's your knee. If you got 0% for your knee, they got to give you braces for the rest of your life. They got to pay for all your medicine, anything that you need associated with that knee, they got to take care of you for the rest of your life. And if you get 4 or 5 different disabilities at 0%, under certain circumstances, you can combine them and now make it come out to 10% where you can get paid for it. So there are a lot of little games they play with it.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to go around the horn, give you final thoughts, preferably including a word of encouragement to our listeners. We'll be back this same time next week. Let me go to East Baltimore, my main man, Greg Branch. Thank you for showing up, Greg. Thank you for being a supporter. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for being a big brother.
And I thank everybody who's there, man, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of listening, and I got a lot of information.
Yeah.
JB?
Again, thank you all. I appreciate it. Morocco, we got to talk because I've been injured in a couple of different places on my body in the military. So I will definitely be hollering at you about some stuff. We just got to stay faithful, look forward to helping who we can, all of us, and encourage everybody to get back to a community base of speaking and being receptive to one another. That's my final thought. We got to start being community, or we're going to be lost.
Thank you, JB. Thank you for showing up last minute. Morocco, thank you for showing up. Sarge?
Yeah, thank you for bringing me on board. It's great meeting you guys, man. You got great energy.
Real talk.
One thing I wanted to say there, back to that school thing, the brother that dropped off here, he had mentioned about starting our own educational programs and curriculum. This is also something like right now is a fantastic time to start teaching the true history to our kids, because
Absolutely.
so much of who we are and everything is not taught in the regular curriculum on purpose. So this is a time here now where let me throw this in there. A few years ago, there was a white buffalo born on a farm in Wisconsin. My wife wanted to know what it meant. Native Americans came from all over the country to protect that white buffalo. I called a Native American friend of mine. He said 15 centuries ago, it was prophesied that a white brown-eyed buffalo would be born at this time. There have been many other buffaloes, white buffaloes born, but they were pink-eyed albino. But this was going to be a brown-eyed white buffalo prophesied 1,500 years ago. And I kept asking questions, so he invited me out to the Blackfoot Indian Nation in Browning, Montana. We went out there, stayed for a week. And what I found out was the symbolism and what that white buffalo symbolized. For those that are conscious at this time, it means the coming together of mankind. So right now, we have a disease that is wiping folk out left and right. And so we have to stay on point, but at the same time, from a spiritual standpoint, this is the coming, especially of our people. This is a coming together, and it's drawing us together and it's pushing us together. Those of us that are conscious, we got to do what we got to do. And I thank you for the opportunity to join such an august group here tonight, Donnie. Thank you.
Mr. Morocco, thank you, too.
Marty States, you're going to get the final word, Mr. Loquacious.
Hey, let me give you something real quick. My final comments are always the same as to the persons backstage, which I was for quite some time. I just wanted to see if you can understand what it was like that I didn't have a pen and a pad. I wasn't prepared to write some things down because my wife's doing a podcast. She's in the other room, so I got to go hide out because Donnie talks about background noise. I want to tell you a few things that I got. I learned a different opinion. Mr. Morocco happened to tell us something about when I just saw Gregory and I agreed that going back could spike the COVID with the kids in school. But as Mr. Morocco said, you need to start all over. You need to get the economy moving back again. JB made a good point. The gas people who are burning. Somebody has to clean the schools. You know what I mean? Teachers need to go back to work. Points like that. Gregory Branch is a hero, a professional baseball player, but he's not a person that you can't touch. He's a physical being, East Baltimore cat like everybody else that you can put your hands on. Mr. Morocco, when he's talking, I don't have a clue how old he is because the years that he was giving us was in the 80s, and I came out with 71. Golly, I ain't graduated high school till 75. You talking about somebody talking about something in 1971. I mean, that would make you like 70 years old or something like that. There's no way a person like myself can look at you and imagine that. And then that, last but not least, if you're in the backstage, if you're in the room and stuff like that, step up, say something to Donnie so that your face can be up here and you can participate, because whether you think it or know it or not, you're ready. Last thing, Donnie Glover's probably doing 5 shows right now. Y'all, do you know when he leaves and he comes back and brings his format in and say something, Mr. Morocco, I want you to do that, JB there. Bah, you know what that means? He get ready to leave again. He's doing another podcast somewhere. You know what I mean? He's multitasking. Stop thinking, everybody, that you can't get stuff done, because you can. We're looking at a gentleman that's bringing all these prominent people together, regular East Baltimore, West Baltimore, all over the world, people together, and he's doing it loquaciously, as I use my word, real smooth. Donnie, Greg, JB, everybody, thank you for the time for letting Party Marty be Party Marty. For ex-West Baltimore dope fiend jailbird to the man that I am now, thank you for letting me come into your home, Donnie.
All right.
I love you all, man. Thank you.
That's Hey, I didn't have my pen. I wasn't prepared, but I need all these numbers. I'll get with you. And please, to the board, y'all, this is something that Donnie does on Thursday. You know what I mean? Please participate next week. Please, we need everybody in here. We need this screen full because information is power. Did you hear what JB finalized said to you, Mr. Coleman? I have a situation I need you to address. JB, you may have found the answer to your situation right here because we join in. To God be the glory.
Yeah.
All because of Donnie.
Yeah, all because of this is what he does. To God be the glory. Good night, man.
Good night, brother.
Take care,
Good night, everybody.
All right, peace, y'all.
Peace.